Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back for another fight card prediction. It's Willie here. We're going to be breaking down UFC Fight Night 128 from Atlantic City as Edson Barboza faces off against Kevin Lee in a really fun-looking main event of a really thoroughly good fight night card, in my opinion. Coming off UFC Glendale, Poirier versus Gaethje, really fun main event. One of my favourite fights in a long, long time. So much action, so much devastation in that fight. Just both guys were taking the licks and really gave everything in that fight. Really fun fight. A couple of apologies to start off. Something was going on with my video last week. I don't know what happened. Some people got to see, you could see it in different devices and so on, but in some you couldn't. Got in touch with YouTube, tried to upload a duplicate video, and then they wouldn't allow me to do it. And then from Wednesday onwards, I wasn't allowed to respond to comments from yourselves. So that's the reason why I didn't get back to most of these last week. I've really no idea what the problem was. It was a playback thing, and then YouTube said there was another problem. So apologise about that. Apologise not getting back to you with some comments and stuff. Hopefully everything's back to normal, especially back on YouTube. Hopefully everything uploads really well, and but if it doesn't, let me know and I'll try and see. I've got other ways, maybe trying to get it on and edit it down so I can possibly get it on YouTube for you. But again, apologies for that. Like I said, coming off Glendale onto UFC Atlantic City here, really fun card, really good fights. Love the main card. I love some of the fights they've got on there. I actually like fights staggered throughout the whole card. I think it's a really solid fight card to put together. This is going to be the last one for 3 weeks, so I'm going to take another couple of weeks off, which kind of sucks because we just had one not long ago and then we're back for 3, then off for 3. So, but then I think from May onwards we've got a real run of events every week, pretty much, sometimes twice a week. So I'll be getting the videos out to you there. So as always, thank you for subscribing. We're slowly moving our way up there to 2,000 subscribers. We will get there, I reckon, by the end of the year. But let's just try and push for as soon as I can, and then we can just set a new target and see where we can get to by the end of 2018. And just comment below. I want to know what your guys' picks is here. The odds have actually come out not too long ago. I think so, last 2 hours, and I've had a brief look at them, and there's a few underdogs that I like, that I did like before the odds came out. So interesting betting wise. I think it's a better betting card than it was last week, but we'll get into it in a second. We're going to start off in the welterweight division with Tony Martin against Keita Nakamura. Really interesting fight. Interesting to see Tony Martin up at 170. He was big guy down at 155. I think it was a kind of struggle to get himself down there. Coming off that loss to OEM down in there. And overall, I think he's a guy who's got talent. I just don't think he's ever really going to show it now. He might show it being up at a weight class where he doesn't have to cut nowhere near as much weight as he has to, so he's going to be fresher coming into these fights, and he has maybe uses more of his tools through that. Like I said, I think he's all around a decent fight. I just don't think there's anything that overly stands out. I think he can grapple with you. I think he's striking something that has slowly improved. You see aspects of it sometimes, but I still think you can get him on the feet. Nakamura's not one of those guys that's going to come out there and knock him out, I wouldn't think, because it's something he's not predominantly known for, is his striking and his knockout power, but he's serviceable up there, which is something that he has to look out for. For Tony Martin, wins over Johnny Case, Alex White, Felipe Oliveira, Camoys, I think was another one way back in the day, but now he's moving up and he's facing a really crafty veteran in Keita Nakamura, who I think is a really solid wrestler, grappler I should say, and it has a whole host of submissions to his name. And I think he's been a little bit unlucky in his UFC run. That fight with Tom Breeze was really sketchy, and he should really have probably got the decision in that one. Beat Kyle Noak, lost to Dos Santos, who I think is a really solid fighter, and then he beat Alex Morono back last year. Like I say, the kind of way I see this fight going, I think it'll be fairly even on the feet. I think maybe both guys will maybe want to grapple. I think Tony will want to strike a little bit more, but I see Kitaro, he's just a tough guy to face. He really is, and he's a guy that he's very strong once he gets you, once he gets his arms around you, and once he's kind of got his weight against you against the cage, and he's just a tough guy to face, I think. And like I say, that when I was looking at the card beforehand, betting opportunities, I was like, oh, I quite like some guys, and I was kind of struggling with UFC Fight Pass. This week's been really bad for Fight Pass for buffering, so I've had to go elsewhere to try and find fights I wanted to watch, and I did find them. I think this is a close fight, and for me it's a kind of dog or pass kind of fight. I think that he can get the fight, if he can get the fight to the ground and potentially keep Tony Martin there, or even against the cage, I think he can win these close rounds. I think all 3 rounds are going to be super close. Personally, but my thing at the start of the year was if I'm picking dogs to win, then I think that I need to consider them betting. And this Keita Nakamura could hit plus 200, I think, by later on in the week, and it is someone that I will probably look into. I have to look into a little bit more. But I'm going to go Keita Nakamura. I think he wins close fights. I think the rounds will be close, and I think the whole fight will entirely be close. So I think I'm going to go with Keita Nakamura there on that one. I feel more confident picking him. I just think that if he can get the Martin to the ground, which isn't going to be easy, I think he's going to use that crafty game that he's got to go in there and win a decision. I think it's going to be close though, so I'm going to go split decision for Keita Nakamura. Bantamweight division, Merab Dvalishvili against Ricky Simon, who's making his UFC debut. A guy that I've really liked watching outside the UFC. We'll start with a newcomer here. Really liked him on the Dana White show. I thought he did everything that he was supposed to do in there against Donovan Freelo, Khalil Roundtree's little brother. But just didn't look overly great. I think it was a good thing he actually went back out in the regional scenes, beat a UFC veteran in Chico Camus, defended his belt out there as well. A guy who, really good striker. Love the way he attacks the body. I think he's got great angles off his strikes as well. Really good footwork. I just think he's got I think on the feet he has a definitive advantage there. Like I said, I love the way he attacks the body and goes after it. I think that's an underutilized skill. I think we were talking about Eddie Alvarez doing against Gaethje. I went back and watched that, and it's actually, he got a lot in early there that took away from Gaethje late on. To go with that, he's got a beautiful chopping leg kick. And as good as a striker as he is, I think his wrestling is just as good. So for me, this guy, I think, has got a high ceiling in the bantamweight division. Now that division is absolutely loaded with talent, so you have to be good to really compete in that top 15, in my opinion. Like I say, really good striking, throws combinations very, very well, and he has a lot of power in his hands. Good grappler, good wrestler as well. I think he's got a good chance of winning this matchup. Now, Dvalishvili, I actually thought he beat Frankie Saenz last time out. Very close though, but he blew his wad very, very, very badly during that fight, and I think it's something that hopefully he's worked on, because if he hasn't, I think the younger, fresher fighter here, I know he's coming in for his debut. I think he could pose a lot of problems for Dvalishvili, but I am going to pick Ricky Simon to win this fight. I'm going to pick him via decision. I think it could be close, being honest with you. Like I say, both are pretty solid wrestlers. Sorry, there's something's going on with my phone. I don't know what's going on. But yeah, both guys are solid fighters. I just think the younger, fresher guy could potentially just have more tools later on in the fight. That's kind of how I see this fight going. On the feet, I give the edge to Ricky. Grappling, I think it's a little bit 50-50, but I think both guys can get each other down. But I think the big advantage here is on the feet. So I'm going to go Ricky Simon to win 29-28 there. Women's bantamweight division. Leslie Smith against Aspen Ladd. This is the fight that I'm seeing a lot of people betting Leslie Smith, and I don't think I am overly optimistic about that bet, but I don't think it's actually a bad bet either, because when you watch Aspen Ladd, I think there's clear disparities in her striking game. She's a young girl who's coming up, and she's ever improving and getting better in all aspects of the game, but I think her striking, there's a lot of opportunities to get at her here, because Leslie Smith, she's known for that high output, and she can go very, very hard for 3 rounds, and she's just a tough girl to fight altogether. She really entertained me at UFC Glasgow when she fought in the first fight of the night against Amanda Lemos. Came out there, was a little bit slow start, but once she got her flow going, and once she started using that long reach that she has and started peppering her with strikes, she really started to put it on Lemos, and then eventually got her out of there, and it kind of blew the roof off the place in the first fight of the night, which was good. Aspen Ladd, coming off that win over Lena Landsberg, a lot of it pretty much a clinch fest, but then she eventually got the opportunity to finish the fight, and she went in there and she did the business as well. The way I see this fight going, like I say, the people that have bet Leslie Smith, they obviously feel a lot. I think she opened as an underdog as well. I've seen 130s plus 130, so it's not the worst bet in the world against someone like Aspen Ladd. I just like Aspen Ladd a little bit more. I think she can get the fight to the ground, and I think she can control Leslie Smith a little bit there. But that means she's going to have to kind of enter the danger zone with Leslie Smith and really probably take some strikes to get some opportunities to get her to the ground, or even to make it ugly against the fence. Can I see Leslie Smith getting herself up off the ground? Maybe. I think if she's up against the cage, I think she will find a way to get Ladd off her eventually, and then she can fire back at range and fight in the feet, and I think that's where it suits her. I just see Aspen Ladd getting takedowns, and from there I think she wins. I can probably see Leslie Smith winning the round, in all honesty, but if Aspen Ladd comes out quick, gets a couple of rounds, I'm going to find it hard to see Leslie Smith win the fight here. But like I say, Aspen Ladd, very flat-footed, not great striking. Leslie Smith will want to keep it there and pepper with strikes. I think Aspen Ladd will like to clinch up, take the fight to the ground and use that there. So Aspen Ladd, 29-28 for me. Moving on to the Fox Sports 1 card in the light heavyweight division. Corey Anderson against Patrick Cummins. I've had people message me about this fight. I've seen people betting this fight a long time ago. Now I think they're on the right side of the line here, because I don't think Corey Anderson should have been a plus 120 against Patrick Cummins, because Patrick Cummins, I don't, to be honest with you, I don't think overly either one of these guys is going to be like a top 5 guy in that division. But I also thought that about Jan Blachowicz, and he's a top 5 guy in that division. So who knows with this fight. It's like I had very little interest in this fight, and it was a fight. Initially I thought, oh, it's quite interesting, and I was like, I'm not going to go anywhere near betting it. I think that if you bet it and you've got a strong lean in, especially if you're on the Corey Anderson side when he was the dog, then by all means. But I've seen people on Patrick Cummins as well. Corey Anderson has very little chin. He got knocked out very badly by a head kick by OSP, but that's the thing from that fight that people forget, is he was a couple of minutes away from winning that fight, in my opinion. He was up a couple of rounds before getting hit with that. Jimmy Manowai just caught a leaping left hook and he was put down. I think as long as he doesn't get clipped early. Now Patrick Cummins is not a one hitter quitter like those OSP and Jimmy Manowai hits that he took. So you have to think that he will be able to take a few shots from Patrick Cummins. When it comes to the grappling, I don't know. I think Corey Anderson's actually, I think personally, he's the better grappler than what Patrick Cummins is, and he's a lot younger. I think he's got a better gas tank. I don't think he's got as much heart as what Patrick Cummins has, but I do think he is the stronger guy, and I think he can mix it up a lot better than what Patrick Cummins is. I think he's got a better jab. I think that he's more accurate of a striker. Not that saying much, because they're both not great strikers. I do think Corey Anderson is the more athletic guy, and that's kind of where I'm leaning. I'll be staying well away from even looking to bet this fight. Pick-wise, I mean, Patrick Cummins has won a couple of fights in a row. I know it's like Gian Vellante was one of them, and it's not good. It's sloppy fights. It's just not fights that I really like watching. Jan Blachowicz, he beat a top 5 guy, you could say now, so he's got some chin issues as well. He's been knocked out a bunch of times, but is against good guys like OSP, Glover Teixeira. I think the first round's interesting here, because if Patrick Cummins can get that in the bank, then I think he's got every chance of winning the decision. I'm going to lean with Corey Anderson a little bit. I was really surprised when he opened plus 120 over here in the UK. I was wanting no part of that even back then when I seen it. I'm going to pick Corey Anderson. I think he can actually knock out Patrick Cummins via ground and pound late on in this fight. I think he can impose his will on Patrick Cummins, and I think if you can get Patrick Cummins and accumulate a lot of damage on him, you can beat him. So I'm going to go Corey Anderson, a 3rd round TKO there. Welterweight division, Siyar Bahadurazada against Luan Chagas. This is a fight I am really interested in, for the simple reason I'm a fan of Luan Chagas, and I think this is a good step up for him against a veteran he's been in the UFC a long time, hasn't fought an awful lot in the UFC, but he's a very dangerous guy, is Siyar. I think he signed with the UFC in 2012, I think it was, and he came in there, he knocked out Thiago, Paulo Thiago, who was, at that time, he wasn't that bad. He's dropped off a lot since then, but came in there, knocked him out in the first round, looked great. Then came back against Dong Hyun Kim, got out-muscled a little bit in that one there. John Howard, and then we never seen him for 3 years, and then he came back in and submitted someone who is habitually known to get submitted, and that is Brandon Thatch. Then he beat Rob Wilkinson up at 185 last time in Holland. Decent striker, dangerous striker, but I just think him not fighting all that often is kind of hurt him a little bit. I know he's been out there. I think it's Jackson's he's been working out of for the last couple of fights, and to be fair, he's looked decent. He's won fights on a 2-fight win streak. I just think in this matchup he's against a young, hungry guy who is very, very dangerous. Really wicked, low chopping leg kicks, decent striking. I just think he's all around a really solid fighter, and he's young. He's still young. So this is why I think it's a good matchup, because he's against a guy who's had a lot of fights and has been around the game a long time, coming up in Holland with all those decent strikers. Drew with Sergio Moraes in his debut, which I thought he probably won. Lost to Eric Silva, which is a little bit of a red flag. Got caught in that one, which was something I was a little bit wary of, but then came back and submitted Jim Wallhead in his last fight nearly a year ago. I think it was in June. So I just think he's a bit of a savage. I think he's a guy you should keep an eye out as well. I've seen the line. This is the guy I am thinking about betting. I need to see. The lines haven't come out here in the UK yet, but I know in America they have, and I think he's about -140, -150. I wouldn't mind that coming down a little bit more, but I like him in this fight. I think if he doesn't get hit early and just pepper him with some really nice low kicks, and just doesn't get hit with big shots, I think he can outclass Siyar Bahadurazada a little bit. So I'm going to pick Chagas. I think can he knock out Siyar? Yeah, I'm going to go with a bold pick there. I think he's going to... No, in fact I'm not. That's just actually thinking about it now. I think it's a little bit silly because Siyar's a really hard guy to get out of there and he's faced better opposition than what Chagas has. So I'm going to go Chagas via a decision there. Moving on to the flyweight division, we have Magomed Bibulatov against Ulka Sasaki. Bibulatov got absolutely starched last time out, and not many people seen it coming. I, for one, didn't see it coming. He got absolutely rocked by John Moraga and got taken out there. But like I say, with some of these guys, I don't think that early UFC loss is a bad thing to take. Takes a little bit of the pressure off you. I still think this guy's going to be a legit top 5 guy, I think, in the future. I think he's got a well-rounded game. He's got really good, solid boxing. And he's obviously from Dagestan. He's over there in Russia. So he's a really solid guy who I think has got a really good game for this flyweight division. He just got caught. It happens in this division. Ulka Sasaki, a guy I'm not overly that high on, but he's got a weird frame. He's got a weird length for the division, and he's just a kind of weird fighter to face all in all. And really, to be honest, these last couple of losses are to top guys, I think, in division. Wilson Hayes and Shusei Formiga. The one thing you can't do with this guy is you can't put your head or any body part in there because he's long. Like Justin Scoggins now, he's habitually known as putting his head into absolutely stupid places, and he's did it again and again and again. But when you look at it, his wins over Scoggins and Willie Gates aren't overly impressive to me, being honest with you there. I think this is another step up. I think it's another fighter that's on that. It could be in that Formiga level eventually. He's not there yet, but I think he has the opportunity in the next 2 years to be there. So I like Bibulatov. I think he's going to be the better striker, the more accurate, precise striker. The thing that he has to do is he has to get inside that massive reach of Sasaki. So he has to kind of enter the danger zone and maybe take some big strikes. I like Bibulatov. Picking Sasaki, not unless he catches him with a big submission or something. I think it would be a bit of a... I think it'd be a big win if Sasaki pulled off. I think it'd be another big shock to me at least. So I'm going to pick Bibulatov. I think he can knock him out actually. I think he can... In that fight with Janelle Lauza, I think Lauza beforehand I thought was the better boxer, and Bibulatov really just boxed him up and then added in takedowns there as well. I think if he can get him down on loads of occasions, he could potentially build up that he could build up his strikes where he gets on the ground, and the durability kind of goes from Sasaki. So now I'm going to pick flyweight fight. I'm going to go another decision win there for Magomed Bibulatov. Welterweight division, Ryan LaFlare against Alex Garcia. This is an interesting fight because I think Ryan LaFlare, I think he's started his game's been found out a little bit. I think he's a decent wrestler. I think he's overall a decent fighter. I don't think his striking's great. He's tried to work on that with Henry Hooft over the years, and maybe this is the start after him getting knocked out last time of him potentially going down hill a little bit. Now, he did lose to Alex Oliveira, who is a wild guy. We've seen that at the weekend. Big guy. How that guy ever made 155 is beyond me, because he is huge and he's just a hard guy to face with a lot of pressure he has. Wins over Carnero and Mike Pierce within the last 2.5 years. So yeah, he's a solid all-around fighter. I think he fights close to decisions. I think once he faces these top guys, or like an Oliveira, who's a ranked guy in my opinion, then he isn't going to win against those guys in my opinion. Alex Garcia, lots of people were against him against Muslim Salikov, and I went the other way. I actually bet Alex Garcia. I saw holes in Salikov's game where Garcia could take advantage. I think he's another all-around decent fighter. I think he's got decent, well-timed takedowns. Now I think he might struggle to get that against LaFlare, who has got really good grappling, like I said before. I think on the feet, I would give the edge to Alex Garcia. I think he's got the bigger power there. Gas tank kind of weirds me out a little bit. I think that if he starts to gas against LaFlare, who can go hard for 15 minutes, that could be a really tough thing towards the end of the fight. I like Alex Garcia here, and I've seen he's the underdog again, plus 120. Now this, I'm not overly sure I'm going to bet Alex Garcia. I think I found my spot with him last time. I think it's time to just back off and enjoy the fight and see if he can come through as an underdog again. But I think Alex Garcia could cause Ryan LaFlare problems. If LaFlare can't get him down, then he has to contend with Garcia on the feet, and I do think Garcia is the better striker. Not that I think there's much between them, but I'm going to go Alex Garcia in this spot here. Main card, Jim Miller faces off against Dan Hooker. Love the fact that Dan Hooker's looked really well up at 155. I think a lot more fighters should just do that personally. I think that killing yourself to make those weights to try and have an advantage, and then you're really at a disadvantage because you're cutting so much weight that you're just depleting yourself. Jim Miller, veteran, been around for the longest time, faced some of the best guys, if not the best guys in the division for the longest time, but I think it's pretty clear to see that he is on the downward spiral, and gatekeeper, really just a gatekeeper to that top 15, or making your way to the top 15. Coming off 3 losses, now he is losing to decent fighters in my opinion, and Trinaldo, who we've seen that is just a tough guy for anybody to face. James Vick had some problems against the guy, he's just a tough guy to face. Lost to Anthony Pettis, lost to Dustin Poirier. Thought he gave a good account of himself in that Dustin Poirier fight. Really peppered him with leg strikes and leg kicks, and put it on him there. When his last win was over Thiago Alves, and Thiago Alves had no right to even think about going to 155 because it was something he just wasn't going to make. Beat a guy who was just thoroughly depleted, and then he went over Joe Lozon, which I thought he actually lost. So he's one of those guys that he's hard to put away. I think he's always going to be in there. Dan Hooker, I think, has got some big advantages over him here with obviously his length. He's a little bit unorthodox. I don't know what Jim Miller's game plan is going to be. Is he going to just want to try and take him down and try and use his submission game, which I think he could potentially have some advantages down there. But honestly, I feel like just Dan Hooker's in a really good spot coming off that win over Mark Diakese. And Ross Pearson, that was a beautiful knockout with a knee there. I just think he's in a really good spot. I think he's got himself a really good opponent here. Jim Miller's going to bring it. Is it in New Jersey? Atlantic City is in New Jersey, isn't it? Yeah, it is. So this is a fight. He's from New Jersey, as Jim Miller. So I like Dan Hooker. I think that Jim Miller is on his way kind of to the retirement. I think retirement's the best place for him. I think there's those old guys like Sanchez, Lozon, Jim Miller, all the guys pretty much need to bow out, if not now, maybe their next fight. So I like Dan Hooker. I just think that he's going to have more tools over the 15 minutes. I think once Jim starts to wear down, I think that Dan Hooker will start to kind of pepper him with strikes. Try and fight him at length as well, because he has got an advantage there on the feet and the lengthwise. So keep him at range, box him up a little bit, tire him out, and then maybe try and get him in the clinch and hit him with some big knees, try and take him out. I like Dan Hooker in this one. I think I'm going to pick him. I'm going to go I'm going to go TKO. I'm going to go another late one. I'm going to go a third round TKO for Dan Hooker on that one there. Bantamweight division. This is the fight outside the main event I'm really looking forward to watching. Aljamain Sterling against Brett Johns, and I'm seeing a hell of a lot of disrespect for Brett Johns, and I don't think it's wanted. I think people are saying he's got like a false flabby record. I think he's 14-15-0 and he's faced nobodies. I don't think that at all. I think he's fought decent guys. He's fought decent guys outside the UFC. He's won belts. He's defended belts. He's went over 5 rounds. And I just think he's a really, really, really solid fighter. It's hard to look good against Brett Johns. I think that, I'll be honest, I didn't see that submission over Joe Soto coming at all back in December. You don't like Joe Soto's known as a kind of jiu-jitsu guy, with his wrestling jiu-jitsu. But Brett Johns caught him in a calf slicer 30 seconds into the fight, and Joe Soto had to tap out. Before that, against Albert Morales, he just thoroughly dominated him. I think that his grappling was far too much, and that's something that is very, very, very underrated. And I think this is going to come into this. It's going to come into this fight here that he's going to. People are saying, and I've seen it on Twitter, I've seen it on some social media sites, that Aljamain Sterling's going to out-grapple Brett Johns. I don't think he will. I think Brett Johns, we've seen in that Brian Caraway fight. Now, I'm not saying that, well, I don't know, Brett Johns might be just as good a grappler as what Brian Caraway is. Aljamain Sterling himself is a really good grappler. I think he's started to fall in love with his striking a little bit. I think he tries to fight at length. He's coming off a vicious knockout, probably coming back far too soon in my opinion. He ate that knee. It was a brutal knee by Marlon Moraes, put him clean out. It was a horrible shot. That was only back in December, I believe. He should be taking 6, 9, 12 months off, in my opinion, coming off a vicious knockout like that. The way I think this fight goes is Aljamain Sterling will try and fight at distance. I think that he will try and keep Brett off of him. I think if they go to the grappler, I think that Aljo could be decent early on. I think late on Brett could actually work in this guy. And I think if he gets him down, I think he will keep Aljamain Sterling there. Now, the question is he going to get him there? I think he will, personally. I think Johns' grappling is really, really good, and I think his control's really good. Just love what I've seen out of Brett Johns. Even the Kwanho Kwak fight, he showed a little bit of his striking there against someone like Kwak, who they were saying was fairly decent as a striker. But Brett Johns beat, I think, a legit guy there, a really good, solid guy. I like Brett Johns in this fight. I think he's going to out-grapple him. I think eventually on the feet, I think it's going to be actually quite close. I think that Aljo's going to want to use leg kicks, teep kicks, keep Brett away. But I see Brett somehow getting in there and controlling him and putting him down and controlling the fight on the ground. I can see Aljo getting back to his feet, but I see Brett getting him down again. So I'm going to pick Brett Johns here. I'm going to pick him via decision. I'm actually fairly confident Brett Johns can do that here. I've seen a lot of people betting Brett Johns. I don't think that's a bad bet at all. I might bet him. I'm not 100% sure yet. I like other spots on the card personally right now, but Brett Johns is definitely there for me, someone to look at to bet. So I'm going to go Brett Johns via decision here. Middleweight division, David Branch against Thiago Santos. Good fight. Thiago Santos, what can we say? The guy's an absolute destroyer. If you give this guy space and the ability to get his strikes off, you're in deep shit, and you like, it doesn't even take a clean shot for this guy to put you down. I mean, if you get your guard up, he can kick through the guard, he can hurt your arms, he can hurt your legs. It's just a guy that you really can't give space, and you can't let him get shots off, because if he does, like I say, you will be in deep trouble. Coming off, I think he's in a 4-fight win streak, coming off that win over Anthony Smith, I think it was, where he knocked him out in the second round with like a brutal body kick. It's the same shot that he hit Jack Hermanson with. Jalen Mearshart, he got Jack Marshman was a spinning back kick. So it's hard for this guy to. He's so unpredictable on the feet, is what I'm trying to say. And he has big power, one hitter quitter power, and that's something that you have to be careful at any time in the fight. We've seen it in the first 2 rounds. If it goes into the later rounds, then I think you can get this guy. David Branch, a veteran, was in the World Series of Fights for the longest time, was in the UFC. I think he's had a fairly tough start to his UFC career. He had Krzysztof Jotko, who he is downtrained in big time at the minute. He might not even be in the UFC in the next couple of weeks personally. And then he had Luke Rockhold. I thought he came out there, he started really well with his boxing actually. I thought he caught Rockhold with some clean strikes. But then eventually the big game of Luke Rockhold got him there, kept him on the ground, then he tapped out to strikes pretty much. I'm going to pick David Branch in this fight actually. I'm seeing a lot of people very confident in Thiago Santos, and I can see why they are, because the guy's got baseballs for legs and arms, and he just throws massive power. He hits you with anything half decent. Like I said, he can put you down. I think David Branch could be the spoiler here. I think he could potentially put him against the cage if he can get inside that the danger zone of Thiago Santos. If he puts him against the cage, I think he can get takedowns on Thiago Santos, and I think if he was to get him to the ground, I think he could keep him there. And I seen the odds. He was plus 175. I'm honestly thinking about a bet on David Branch if it hits over plus 200, because I think he has aspects of his game here that could cause Thiago Santos problems. So I'm going to go David Branch actually to win via a decision in this one here. I'm seeing a lot of decisions on this card. I am going to go, David Branch. I'm fairly confident he can pull off the big underdog play, and potential bet, if it hits plus 200, I will more than likely bet David Branch, but I'm still considering my options at this time. But I'm going to pick David Branch here for the upset. Heavyweight division, Chase Sherman against Justin Willis. Chase Sherman, I mean, he's getting knocked out by Shamil Abdurakhimov. I think he's got some good tools for the division, but I just think he's there to be got at if you pressure him. I think he's got decent leg kicks, decent striking, but he does leave his chin there, and he does take a lot of shots. Now, Justin Willis, he's coming off that win. I've totally forgot who he last faced. Was it Luis Enrique? I don't even know. It was Alan Crowder. That's who it was. Back at UFC in Detroit last year. That's who it was. And he knocked him out there. Crowder's just not a legit heavyweight. He shouldn't even. I think he should be doing it at 205. Justin Willis is a thick set dude. He's a massive, big, wide guy. You can see he's got a lot of power there. I think he's got decent grappling, decent wrestling. Comes from AKA, so he's training with the legit beasts there. I don't feel confident picking Chase Sherman. If you're getting knocked out by Shamil Abdurakhimov, who's one of the kind of pillow fist heavyweights in that division, then you can be taken out by any other heavyweight. I just think it's putting the pressure on. I don't think that Chase Sherman, I know he's a former football player, so he's probably fairly decent grappling. I think that Justin Willis, if he wanted to, can maybe get him to the ground. Whether he keeps him there is another thing. I think Justin Willis can catch this guy, so I'm going to pick Justin Willis to win, catch Chase Sherman with a big shot and put him down in the second round. So Justin Willis TKO there. Co-main event of the night, Frankie the Answer Edgar against Swanson. Talking about guys coming back too early, this guy, he got knocked out brutally 6 weeks ago by Brian Ortega. That vicious uppercut. That's the first time he's ever been knocked out in his career. He's had very close calls in the past and he survived. He wasn't surviving that shot from Brian Ortega. This fight to me is a lot of red flags for Frankie Edgar. Coming back too soon, knocked out for the first time, think he deserved more time off. And his father just died as well, so literally 2 weeks ago. And it's just a weird fight to put together because these two have fought before, and Frankie Edgar did beat Swanson very convincingly, got him out there in the last couple of seconds of the 5th round. I think that, like I say, there's a lot of red flags on Frankie Edgar's side here, but he still beat this guy and he beat him convincingly, so it's really hard to pick Swanson in this spot. I know when I'm talking about these red flags, they are big red flags. Being knocked out for the first time, it was only 6 weeks ago. The father dying is a tough one to know where his head's at. But then you look at when you go back and watch that fight, he dominated a lot of that fight very easily on the ground, and I see that being pretty much the same here. I don't see him stopping him. I think that Swanson is in that spot now where I was surprised the UFC actually re-signed him. I know he puts on a lot of exciting fights. I mean, the Doho Cho fight is an example there. I thought he started okay against Brian Ortega before getting caught in a big submission in the second round, which was beautiful actually. He should have really been putting out there in the first round. Win over Artem Lubov's not really saying much going 5 rounds with that guy. I'm going to pick Frankie Edgar. Not a hell of a lot invested in this. I see people betting Frankie Edgar, and like I say, you're seeing what I'm seeing. Domination over pretty much 5 rounds. I just don't like the number. I don't think it's just at a fight I don't want to really go anywhere near betting, so I'm going to pick Frankie Edgar via decision. And the main event of the night, Edson Barboza Jr. against Kevin Lee. This is the fight that I was pretty strong on one side. Watched some fights. Is Edson Barboza coming back too soon? That's another aspect. Now, I know he didn't take a hellacious beating. He did take a hellacious beating by Khabib, and it was over a sustained amount of time, over 15 minutes. And in my opinion, his stock went up with Edson Barboza in that fight because his durability and to stay in the fight and still to throw big strikes and just trying to win the fight was really nice to see. But Khabib was just better than him everywhere. He pressured him from the get-go. Halfway through that round, you could tell in his eyes and his facial expressions that he knew what was coming and he knew he couldn't beat this guy. But he still kept going, and that's a plus on his side. A lot of people are talking about this could be a similar matchup because Kevin Lee has really good wrestling, really good grappling, really heavy top game, and can put it on you. The one thing I'm looking at is this is the kind of Kevin Lee's never really faced a guy like Edson Barboza his striking is devastating. Now Tony Ferguson's got good striking and he's a little bit unpredictable, but I think technically Edson Barboza can rip him apart with leg kicks, but also he has to be careful where he throws them because Kevin Lee could latch onto a leg, get a takedown. That's kind of how we see this fight kind of going. Kevin Lee's going to want to try and use the same kind of game plan Khabib used, and try and get him to the ground, because I think if he gets him to the ground, I think he'll keep him there. And I think that Kevin Lee's got more of a killer instinct than what Khabib has to get the fight finished, like the Kaiser fight. This guy's got a vicious body triangle. If he gets you in that, you're in deep doo-doo. He showed that against Trinaldo. He showed that against Kaiser. If he gets your back, you're probably going to sleep or you're tapping out. Striking, I think Kevin Lee's striking's came a long way. I mean, he's came a long way from that fight with Efrain Escudero, where lots of people actually gave that fight to Escudero. I gave it to Lee, but it was very, very close. So he wants to grapple this fight. He doesn't want to strike with Barboza because he can pull out stuff out of his back pocket very, very quickly, and he can like the Dariush fight. If you pressure this guy, he can throw flying knees and hit you with massive spinning kicks, and you will be waking up looking at the lights, and that's something that you have to be very, very careful with. So Kevin Lee has to fight smart, has to pick his shots well. I think that Barboza's going to be very elusive. He's going to want to try and keep away. That inside, the black mark that they have around the octagon and the cage is somewhere that I think Barboza will just be inside, but I don't think he'll be too close to the cage. If he gets too close to the cage, I see Kevin Lee shooting in, maybe not initially getting the takedowns, working for single legs, getting them down, and once he gets them down, I think that he could stop Edson Barboza. But I think there's a lot of aspects where Edson Barboza could level a body kick, accumulation of leg kicks in Kevin Lee and put him down. I was going to bet Kevin Lee. I've been kind of scared off that, if I'm being honest with you. I think the line is still fairly decent. I think it will come down a little bit. I have seen people bet Kevin Lee as well Barboza. I've been going back and forward in this fight. Initially I was very heavy in Kevin Lee. Then I think Edson Barboza is going to have moments in this fight where he could get Kevin Lee out of there. I just see Kevin Lee getting takedowns, and I think if he gets a takedown, say in the middle part of a round, I think he will work to a dominant position. I think he will find a submission, and he's very hard to get off your back, especially when he gets that body triangle in. So I'm going to go Kevin Lee. I'm actually going to pick him via submission in this one. Like I said, I'm not overly confident though. But I think if he does get him down, he will work for a submission. I think he will get Barboza with something. So Kevin Lee, I'm going to go a fourth round, fourth round submission there. So that's my picks for UFC Atlantic City. We're back for UFC 224, Nunes versus Pennington. Early May, around about my birthday, I think it is. I think it's the weekend of my birthday. So looking forward to that. I will be off work, so a nice little break. And watching fights, which is always awesome. Until then, please like, comment, subscribe, leave who you're picking down below if you disagree with my picks, if you're going who you're betting, who you're picking in DraftKings, to say the least. That the probably prices about for that tomorrow. So let me know what's going on, and let me know what you think of my picks. If you don't like them, that's fine, let me know, because I don't agree with other people's picks of some fights as well, but it is what it is. Just let me know how you think the fights are going to go, and I'll see you all for 224 in a few weeks time. Peace, take care, and enjoy the fights when they come around this Saturday night.